Hello, and welcome to the Grants for Teachers information session. We are very excited to say that this year, AcA Center for the Arts and United Way are partnering to make your life easier, teachers. My name is Bree Sargent. I am the Education Director here at the AcA Center for the Arts, and I'm joined by Kojevnikov, who is our Community Development Manager at AcA Center for the Arts. Together, we are managing the ACA's Arts Grants for Teachers, which is funded by Lafayette Parish School System. And our partner, United Way, has been offering education innovation grants to teachers for the last several years. This year, we have aligned our application processes and deadlines to make things easier for you, so you can just think about grants one time in the year. So we'll talk about those deadlines, but our grant applications are exactly the same as one another. So if you've applied for an ACA grant before, the United Way grants look just like those this year. So today we're just going to go through a little bit about what both of those grants look like and how you can start to think about which grant is best suited for your project idea. So as we go through this, be thinking about what it is that you're seeking support for, so you can figure out which of the grants makes the most sense for you to apply for.
And we'll, of course, be available to take any questions to help you figure that out along the way as well. Let's get started. So the purpose of each of these grants is listed here. The ACA Teachers Arts Grant for Teachers helps with arts projects within the schools. It hopefully will encourage teachers to design and develop creative projects that involve the visual and performing arts that are directly fed into the students' curriculums. The United Way Education Innovation Grants supports teachers and classrooms in their missions to create engaging, innovative, and inclusive learning environments. They're a lot broader in scope in the types of projects that they will accept for this.
So in Arts Grants for Teachers, these are projects that can help develop an understanding, appreciation for the arts. So art for art's sake kinds of things. Or arts integration, things that might complement other arts-related activities that you're already doing in your schools, providing direct student involvement, or helping to develop arts resources. So you might bring a teaching artist into your classroom to support and teach about something that you're doing in another subject area, or you might be looking for materials for a project that's coming up. So there's a few different ways you can do that. We also have, we'll talk a little bit more about the types of grants that you can apply for.
And the education innovation grants empower our educators by providing them with the necessary resources, tools, and opportunities to elevate their teaching practices and enhance the overall classroom experience. And again, there's a bit more information in this presentation about the scope of what that means. In terms of eligibility, essentially, any Lafayette Parish public teacher, librarian, or guidance counselor who is directly instructing children is eligible to apply. So, but you must be within the Lafayette public school system.
So let's talk about amounts that you might be able to request. They look a little bit different. So if you're an individual teacher who is looking to seek funding, the ACA's Arts Grants for Teachers have a maximum request amount of $750. And for United Way's Education Innovation, it's $1,000. If you are more than one teacher, either within one school or even between schools, maybe you're a fourth grade teacher at one school and you're partnering with a fourth grade teacher at another school, then for ACA's Arts Grants for Teachers, you can request up to $1,500. And for United Way's Education Innovation, it's up to $5,000. ACA also offers a Student Arts Expo grant for up to $2,000, and that is for 3 teachers and classes, once again, within the same school or across schools. But those are projects that are culminating in a performance or an exhibition that's going to be showcased at the Student Arts Expo, which is April the 13th. this year, 2024. United Way also does have a very large grant that aims to support innovative projects that have the potential to make a lasting impact on an entire school. And for those grants, you can request up to $50,000. But we do not recommend that you just write a grant like this. Those grants are very, very specific, and you'll need to reach out to them directly if that is the kind of project that you are looking for. We have different arts grants categories that you can be thinking about for your project to help you guide you in deciding if arts grants for teachers is the right one for you. An artworks grant is really specific to the arts. So visual arts, dance, theater, music, design, creative writing, folk life. It might be a production or performance or anything like that. So that's the kind of thing that you might bring a teaching artist in to give your kids a real arts experience. An integrated arts grant is incorporating the arts directly into academic instruction. So math, science, reading, literature, any of those kinds of things that is really enhancing your curriculum using the arts. For both of those kinds of grants, we have a roster of teaching artists that are already approved and fingerprinted to work in schools. You can find that on the ACA's website, along with a list of the kinds of things that they do. But for that, again, we highly recommend you reach out to us, and we're happy to recommend an artist once we find out more about what your project is looking for. A little note on teaching artists before we move on is that I know in previous years, some schools have had issues with paying non-LPSS employees out of grant funds. So we have cut that out, and this year ACA can actually pay those artists directly from ACA as a part of the grant. So that is something that a lot of people had issues with in the past, and it will not be an issue anymore. That has been approved. Thinking about your classroom and we also have resource grants that for a particular project that you have in mind, you may be looking, you might be the art teacher, or you might be a teacher who has experience in that, and you're really looking for things like reproductions or more expensive equipment for a particular project. Also training grants to provide teachers with training by an expert in an art field. So you might bring an artist in, but not to work with your students, to work with you so that you're able to continue to provide that kind of work for your students in the future.
So here are a couple of things that you should gather before you submit your application. We really need to see a signed letter from your school principal supporting the proposal, as well as from the teaching artist if you are using one. Any information that describes the materials that you'll be purchasing. So this could be a list from Amazon that details the prices and the kinds of materials you'll be purchasing. We'll also like to see resumes of whoever will be working directly with the students and who will be paid with the budget that we'll be providing. And obviously that does not include the ACA's teaching artists, since we already have them on our roster. And then any resumes or bios of the teachers directly involved in the instruction for this project. So, and just a reminder that these grants are competitive. Just because you're submitting an application does not mean that you'll be granted the funds. We have a panel that gets together and discusses each of these applications, and from that process, projects will be selected for funding. There isn't a limit on the number of applications that you can submit. So a school or a teacher can submit as many ideas as they have, but separate applications will be needed to be submitted for each of those different projects. We have 4 different categories for the evaluation criteria that the panelists will be judging each application up against. We'll be looking at things like the approach and how well planned it is, the expertise of your educators and artists, and then also making sure that the project that you'll be completing is done in a realistic time frame. So there are For the second one, this is across both of the two different grants. So that's the AcA Arts Grants for Teachers and also the United Way grants. The second evaluation criteria for AcA is educational and artistic, and for United Way is educational and academic relevance. So just making sure that the proposed project is important to the type of studies that the students are doing, any impacts that the teachers, any impacts on teacher practice and student understanding, making sure that it's connected to the curriculum that is assigned this year. And then also for us at AcA, it's the artistic merit of the proposed project. The other two categories are budget, so making sure that you're budgeting things correctly and not over budget or under budget. It's really making sure that there's a balance for that, making sure it's realistic. And then also the impact of the proposed project. How will this affect the students? And if you're, as well as yourself, if you're applying as for education funds for yourself as a teacher. And then the plans for increased access to participation and exposure to the arts for students.
So some other just things to know is that these grants do not fund recurring projects. So for example, if every year your fifth graders put on a play, we will fund it once, but we won't fund it again. So keeping that in mind of as you're beginning projects, and as this is seed money to get things going, you'll need to think about how you're going to be able to sustain projects like that. It might pay for different parts of the project, but not for something that's recurring. They also will not fund salaries for school administrative or teaching staff, only outside people that you bring in. If you're applying for an artworks or integrated arts grants, those projects do need to include time for contact between the artists and the students in regular teaching day, not after school. Artists can't be used to fill teacher vacancies. This is not a substitute. Same thing for United Way for anyone you might bring in. The teacher must be present at all times during grant activities. This is your project. And the project and any resulting materials do become the property of the Lafayette Parish School System in the case of Arts Grants for Teachers, as this is funded by the school system. Also, please, as Anna mentioned earlier, when you're thinking about your budget, do not request more funds than the grant guidelines allow. If you have a project that costs more and you have funding sources coming from other places, like your PTO or other fundraisers or things you already own, do include those in the other contribution section, because the panel then sees that you're not just asking us to fully fund what you're doing. This is something that you're going to do, and you're seeking other ways to support that. The decision process does take a little time. It's about 1 month in this, so you will not hear from the day you turn it in. It'll be about a month after the deadline. We do, as Anna mentioned, have a grant review panel that consists of people from around the community in education, teaching artists. If there are questions that the panelists have, we may get back to you with things before coming back with a final answer. The panel can suggest partial funding, dependent on how they feel about different parts of the application, if they feel that some are viable and some are not. So again, those are conversations that we have with you before final say of what's happening. Do keep copies of your completed application so that you can use those as a guideline throughout the project. If you have issues with getting that, you can just let us know and we will make sure that you get a copy of that. Although I believe that once it's submitted, you get a copy of it as well. So just reach out if you need something like that in the future.
And just a note on the other contribution section, that also just shows that there's buy-in from other areas, which just strengthens your application as well.
Absolutely.
So some important dates to remember. Our funding cycle is November 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2024. Now, what that means is that you may have a project that starts before that date, and that's absolutely fine, but any expenses that are made need to be made during this period. So if you are making any purchases that you're expecting a reimbursement for, the receipts need to say November 1st through May 31st. We do have an application deadline of September 29, 2023. All applications will be accepted only online, so make sure that you submit that. And I do believe it's actually 4 p.m., not 4:30 p.m. So please keep that in mind. And then we will notify you of the outcomes of the panel discussions by the end of October so that you can start the project by the November 1st cycle date.
So who's ready to apply? You are. Applications are open now for both grants. You can find them on our websites at acadianacenterforthearts.org. If you go to the Arts and Education tab and go to Resources for Educators, you'll find that application as well as all of the guidelines right there and all the other things that we have as resources for you. United Way of acadiana.org, on their grants section, pull down grants and you'll see education grants, and it'll take you right to, once again, the guidelines and the application, which again, both look exactly the same.
And if you do need any assistance during your application process or even afterwards, please do get in touch. For project assistance, Bree is your best bet, though I will assist in any way that I can and refer you to Bree if you can't get immediately in touch with Bree. That is there are contact details. But if you do have any technical assistance that you need with the actual application, you're best to come to me, and I will be your point of contact throughout the whole process. And then with any questions for United Way, please get in touch with Mike and Nicholas. His contact details there. Just in general, we do recommend that before you start an application that you do get in touch with one of us so that we can be sure that the type of project that you're submitting with, or the grant that you're submitting is the correct one. So that's just a standard practice. Please get in touch with us, and we'll make sure that you're on the right track before you get started and spend a lot of time on something. I think, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you all, and we hope that you all apply for grants this year or next. These are recurring. This happens every year. It's going to be around this same timeline. So please do. We can't wait to see all the exciting new things that you're going to be bringing to your classrooms and schools. And good luck, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.